The Dogman movie was amazing and lovingly adapted 3 whole books into a single film. That being said, a lot of things were left out, but they could still come back in the second movie.
Dogman!
For example, did you know that Petey the cat had a mother?
He's not going to ruin my evil plans to destroy all do-gooders.
Alright, I know that question sounded really stupid, because even those who didn't grow up with a mother still came from one, right? After all, nobody is born from a cabbage or delivered by a stork flying in with a tiny human in its beak. But what I mean is, in the movie, and for most of the comics, we believe that Petey only lived with his father, Crud, who is the biggest jerk that ever existed. Seriously, the guy is literally the worst dad in the world. From abandonment to verbal abuse, he seemed to put real effort into being awful. And we only know that Crud exists because Petey mentions him once to his little clone kid, which leads the kitten to seek out the old man and try to make the two reconcile. Plot twist. It doesn't work. But in one of the comics near the end of the Dogman saga, Petey reveals everything about his mother, including her name, which is Grace. Dude, what a beautiful name. I love that name. And her name perfectly matches her personality, the impact she had on Petey. And not just that, but everything about her is deeply connected to Lil Petey, the villain cat's clone who never even knew she existed, yet carries within him the essence of his grandmother. Curious? Then get ready to ugly cry. Subscribe to the channel while you're at it, and let's uncover all the mysteries behind Grace's connection to Lil Petey in today's video. Another episode of Zigzag is starting now. In the book Mothering Heights, the legendary journalist Sarah Haytoff embarks on a very important mission, interviewing a celebrity from the city of OK. And who is the interviewee? Petey, the infamous villain cat. Yes, Petey, the guy who has done it all, a shameless trickster, a master manipulator. And those are the journalist's own words, okay? I'm just passing along the information. Don't sue me, but hold on, because there's a plot twist. Petey is not the same anymore. Something happened in his life that made him change completely. And this interview teaches a very powerful lesson. The choices we make are more important than the traumas we carry. Petey opens his heart and proves that the past doesn't define who we are. What defines us are the tough decisions we make every day. And how did this turning point in his life happen? Well, he says that he was always a troublemaker, the kind of cat who got into mischief just out of curiosity. He grew up in a complicated environment, raised by his mother after his father, Crud, abandoned them both. Even so, he knew his mother did everything for him, and he felt her love all the time. She was his safe haven, until one day, she was gone. And then, even alone in the world, he still carried that love inside him, because true love never disappears, even when the person is no longer around. And man, that hits hard, doesn't it? After Petey lost his mother, he still believed he could be someone in life. And it wasn't just some distant dream. No, he was already part of a highly renowned scout group. And guess what? He was simply the best of them all. Seriously, the guy was a legend in the scout world. He won trophy after trophy, collected medals, stacked up certificates. He was the kind of scout that everyone admired, and some envied. So much so that he wasn't just any member. He was the leader of his team, which consisted of Piggy, Crunky, and Bub. But as the old saying goes, success attracts enemies. The moment the instructor turned his back, the trio turned against Petey. They were sick and tired of seeing him be the favorite, winning all the awards and taking all the glory. And, driven by pure envy, they decided to gang up on the poor guy. And then came the final blow. When the instructor finally returned to see what was going on, the three teamed up against Petey and made him take the blame for everything. It was humiliating. Petey lost his awards, his status, his pride, and most importantly, his purpose in life. But that's where the turning point happens, because it was at that moment, at that exact instant, that Petey proved that revenge can be much more satisfying than forgiveness. He devised the perfect plan to get even. He spread the news that the scouts were promoting violence against cats. And boom, within days, feline rights activists came down hard on the group, and the scouts were shut down for good. And that, my friend, is how villain Petey was born. This story is so layered that it feels like an ogre or an onion, and I bet you want to keep learning more about Dogman, right? So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. It helps us, and it helps you too. Everybody wins. After all that, we return to the interview with Sarah Haydoff, and Petey finally opens up about what really led him to the dark side of the Force. He reveals that after making a series of terrible decisions, and, let's be honest, some pretty impulsive ones, he ended up being arrested for the first time in the cat jail. And here's a detail. This happened before Dogman even existed. In other words, our beloved canine officer wasn't the first to put Petey behind bars, but here comes the part that really hits you in the feels. With a broken heart, Petey confesses that he was still trying to be that good scout, full of principles, who believed in the values of an honest life and in his mother's love. Even after everything, he still tried to hold on to that memory. But reality didn't care about his good feelings. After serving his sentence and getting out of jail, no one wanted to give him a second chance. No one offered him an honest job. No one looked at him without suspicion. No one was willing to believe that he could change. And this is when Sarah Haydoff asks the fatal question, "Was that when you turned to crime?" And Petey, without hesitation, simply replies, "Well, what choice did I have?" Man, this story breaks my heart. It's so sad. After that, my friend, the rest is history, because we reach the point where we know him. Petey, with his mind twisted by evil and crime, ends up creating Dogman, who would become both his greatest rival and his best ally in the future. And in a villainous impulse to try and get back on top, he also creates a clone of himself, which he had no idea would completely change his life. The clone, with his innocent and captivating personality, started calling him Papa. And all that old trauma came rushing back, to the point where Petey abandoned the little one just like his father did in the past. And if you didn't get emotional during that scene, go look for your soul, because it must have wandered off. That moment in the movie was truly touching. Do you love this character too? Then show your appreciation by writing #Petey in the comments. And this is where everything starts to come together, because Petey lives with the repressed memory of his mother, so bitter about life that he tries to push it away, which is completely understandable, right? Sometimes we get down over much smaller things, and that's why Petey is a character that connects so much with the audience. As his adventures and misdeeds unfold, little Petey slowly starts breaking something inside him, because deep down, Petey still has that childhood kindness within him, which is exactly how his clone is now, because that's how he used to be in the past. And thanks to that, he begins making less selfish choices, like accepting Dogman's help, and even sacrificing himself for his clone in the battle against Flippy, for example. After that epic scene where little Petey defeats Flippy purely with cuteness, something began to change inside Petey. Little by little, all his broken pieces started to fit back together, and that happened because of the little kitten he had now adopted as his son. But if you think that was the only major change in our favorite ex-villain's life, you'd be mistaken. Now, sitting in front of the cameras, giving his exclusive interview to Sarah Haydoff, Petey makes a revelation that even he never imagined he would admit. The biggest turning point in his life wasn't abandonment or even the loss of his mother. It was the birth of little Petey, because it was at that exact moment that he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. His mother's love. Even though at the time he didn't want to admit it to himself, it was that feeling that little by little brought him back to the side of good. And that love came in the most unexpected form possible, in the toothless smile and shining eyes of his own son.